Good morning, gardeners, and welcome to Thursday, May 4th. Don't worry, this show has nothing to do with actual gardening, so don't run away if you're like me and can't grow green things. I'm speaking of gardening metaphorically. We're planting the seeds for a better day, we're cultivating a better life for ourselves, we're cultivating better communities, and a better world. May 4th is International Firefighters Day. It's a day to remember the past firefighters who have lost their lives while serving our community or dedicated their lives to protecting the safety of us all. To some, May 4th is also known as World Give Day. It can be a good reminder to examine your giving practices and make sure that you are donating the right amount to the right charities. Some people also claim this day has something to do with a popular sci-fi series, but I'm a Star Trek girly, so I don't observe that one. So I have been listening to this morning show that I've been creating every morning for a little over a week now, only on the weekdays, because, you need a break. Like the weekends have been really great for me because I don't have to listen to my own voice. Which, as you know, I'm sure if you have listened to yourself speak on camera, before you get used to it, it is excruciating. But for me, it has been even more excruciating because I have sound issues with my setup. You can probably hear it. I don't think I sound like this in real life. There's a really harsh, I think it's called sibilance, but basically the S sound. It is just way too harsh. I probably shouldn't have said that because now you're going to be listening for that on every video. Basically, I need to fix something about my setup, but I am not a sound person. I'm a design person. I'm a visual person, right? So I don't really know what to do. I have Googled it, I have tried a couple different things, but honestly, I need a sound technician, but I don't have one yet, so we're rolling. And this sort of practice is new for me because my tendency is to wait until I get everything perfect before I will move on with something. I am not a recovering perfectionist. I am a lifelong perfectionist. It is something that I have to struggle with and fight against every single day of every single moment of every day of my life. It is bad. I have heard some people say in the past that perfectionism can be a strength. I have heard that it's even this trope that in interviews people will say, oh, my biggest weakness or strength, people will say my biggest strength is that I'm a perfectionist. Or even they might say it's their weakness. But honestly, they might say it's their strength or their weakness. I don't really remember, but I wouldn't bring that up in an interview at all because perfectionism is debilitating. If you've ever heard of perfection paralysis, that is real. And I have fought against this for basically my entire life when doing anything. So if you are watching this and you think it's fine, it might be interesting for you to know that I don't think it's fine. I think it's awful, but I'm just doing it as a way to practice being able to do things as a human being who isn't perfect and who will make some mistakes and who will make some, maybe some products that are flawed or just maybe something that isn't, the best ever. Maybe it's everything I won't do will be award-winning. And that is good because, once again, I've probably said this too many times, but I'm a human. And we are meant to be flawed. We are not meant to just do everything perfectly. The idea of perfection is unnatural. But for some of us, it's really, really stuck into our brains and it can be really hard to get past. But anyway, for today's feel-good moment, we are going to talk about something that I'm sure that you've heard before, but I hope to provide a strategy in a minute that will enable you to truly implement the lesson here. Okay, So the good thought is that you have to fail at least 100 or maybe 1,000 or possibly even 10,000 times at something before you can succeed at that thing. The idea is that every greatly successful person has mostly failures on their record, but that one win makes all the difference. The lesson here is to get comfortable with failure and to let it roll off your back. Thomas Edison famously failed 1,000 or maybe 10,000 times before he successfully invented the light bulb. We may never know the true number of times that he failed because it seems like this part of his life has been exaggerated and repackaged to make a quotable factoid. There's probably some historian out there who knows the real story, but all I know is that Edison is quoted as saying, "I have not failed, I have just found 1,000 ways that won't work." He is also quoted as saying, "I have not failed, I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work." But anyway, like I said, we may never know, but hopefully you get the idea. Either way, the quote is clearly supposed to make all of us regular, non-light bulb inventing people feel better about our failures, mistakes, and errors. And in my experience, it does make me feel better, momentarily. But I find it hard to maintain this mindset because I am working towards multiple goals in various arenas of my life. I am not just grinding away on inventing one thing, like a light bulb. Also, I tend to get emotionally invested in each one of my goals, which is understandable, but it makes it really hard not to feel discouraged when I do experience a setback. So even though I do hope this good thought makes you feel a little bit better about your setbacks today, I'm going to delve a little bit deeper into this idea so that if you are like me and this kind of quote or feel-good moment normally doesn't stick with you, hopefully this will help it stick a little bit longer this time. I encountered this idea maybe a couple weeks ago, 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks ago, and it's still sticking with me, so that's a great sign. So today I am going to read a little bit from Psycho-Cybernetics because this is the book that gave me the idea for this thought shift, and also because I am celebrating the fact that I just finished this book yesterday. By the way, the next book that I'm going to be reading in its stead is Deep Work by Cal Newport. And yeah, so stay tuned if you're interested in hearing the morning thoughts that come from someone reading this book. All right, so in Psycho-Cybernetics, Maxwell Maltz says that we are all hypnotized. And if you feel like you are a failure in one area or another, or even in your whole life, of course you are not really a failure. It's just that you need to de-hypnotize yourself from this false belief. Or it could even be a series of false beliefs. He writes, "It is no exaggeration to say that every human being is hypnotized to some extent, either by ideas he has uncritically accepted from others, or by ideas he has repeated to himself or convinced himself are true." And then he goes on to write about how people are hypnotized, So after he talks about how everyone is hypnotized, he goes on a little bit to write about how when people are hypnotized, they can do things they couldn't do otherwise, such as demonstrate increased strength. He asks the reader if they have ever seen a live, real live demonstration of hypnosis. I have never seen anything like this. I think personally it's a little bit hokey, maybe a little bit pseudoscience-y. I don't know. I'm a very skeptical person by nature. Have you guys ever been to one of these shows? Do you even know what I'm talking about? I'm not sure whether this has been debunked or not, but even if it has, I still think that the general point here remains and is valid. So this is the point. Within you right now is the power to do things you never dreamed possible. This power becomes available to you just as soon as you can change your beliefs. Just as quickly as you can dehypnotize yourself from the ideas of, I can't, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve it, and other self-limiting ideas. So we hypnotize ourselves with our conscious thoughts. And this is why it's really important that we change the way that we think about failure. Negative experiences do not inhibit, but contribute to the learning process as long as they are used properly as negative feedback data and are seen as deviations from the positive goal which is desired. However, as soon as the error has been recognized as such and correction of course has been made, it is equally important that the error be consciously forgotten and the successful attempt remembered and dwelt upon. These memories of past failures do not harm as long as our conscious thought and attention is focused upon the positive goal to be accomplished. Therefore, it is best to let these sleeping dogs lie. Our errors, mistakes, failures, and sometimes even our humiliations were necessary steps in the learning process. However, they were meant to be a means to an end, and not an end in themselves. When they have served their purpose, they should be forgotten. If we consciously dwell upon the error, or consciously feel guilty about the error, and keep berating ourselves because of it, then, unwittingly, the error or failure itself becomes the goal which is consciously held in imagination and in memory. Now, if you've been with me for a while, you might have heard me speak about the idea in this book that Maxwell Maltz, I think, invented, which is that your subconscious has a goal in mind at all times, and the rest of your mind will sort of automatically work toward achieving this goal. So if you have dwelt upon a certain failure, or maybe a certain type of failure or setback that you have experienced multiple times, what he's saying here is that you have created this error or failure as one of your goals, just by thinking about it too much. And he writes about the power of imagination and how important that our conscious thoughts are, because they actually feed into our subconscious thoughts, which controls so much of our thoughts, beliefs, and therefore actions. So for today's focus moment, I want you to think about one area of your life in which you have experienced setbacks. Bonus points if you feel like you have failed quite a bit in this area, and even more bonus points if you feel like you are a failure at a particular thing. Now, I want you to mentally change your own label of your setbacks from failures to data points. You and I may not be inventors of things like light bulbs, but we are all the You and I may not be inventors, but we are all the creative inventors of our own lives. In this way, everything we do is like an experiment. The feedback that we get from our environment is just data that we can use to adjust our methods and tweak our approach until we get the feedback or results that we really want. If you'd like a visual for this idea, I posted a guide on my Instagram yesterday, and there is a link in the description of this video to my Instagram. This mental shift has really helped me break out of perfection paralysis. And I hope this helps you. Let me know if you think it will help you in the comments. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will speak with you again tomorrow.